All right, so Alex Jones's Infowars has filed for bankruptcy protection. What does it mean and what does it not mean?
Your butt's in my face.
Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and that was Winnie the Westie giving me the royal exit. So Alex Jones is back in the news because Infowars and two other related media companies that he owns have filed for bankruptcy protection in the context of the defamation lawsuits that he is currently facing. What does it mean? What does it not mean? And one thing is for certain, it has certainly given the media the headlines that they want. From ABC News, explainer, what does Infowars bankruptcy filing mean? Infowars has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection as the website's founder and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones faces defamation lawsuits over his comments that the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was a hoax. Now, first things first, the requisite disclaimers. Nothing in this video constitutes legal advice. I am a Canadian attorney. I don't have any experience in American bankruptcy law, but I did have enough experience in Canadian bankruptcy law, and from what I understand, the rules are relatively the same. First thing to note here is that Infowars and the two other related companies, I think it's called Prison TV and another media company, have filed for bankruptcy protection.
Not bankruptcy itself.
Simply put, the 30,000-foot overview, bankruptcy protection is a mechanism by which a company says, look, our liabilities exceed our assets. We owe more to creditors than we have in assets, and that includes litigious creditors, which we'll get to in a second, but it's a mechanism through which the company says, protect us in the interim. We want to continue doing business. We want to restructure our liabilities. We want to negotiate with our creditors, but we want to stay in business while doing so. And the company files for bankruptcy protection, which stays all proceedings, which oftentimes include proceedings to recoup what is owed to the creditors so that the company can, in theory, try and restructure in the interim. And that is what Alex Jones's Infowars and two other of his companies, Prison Planet TV and IW Health, have done. They have filed for bankruptcy protection, which stays pending civil proceedings, including the defamation lawsuits against Alex Jones and his companies. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Massachusetts.
Alex Jones's company, Infowars, has filed for bankruptcy protection after the conspiracy theorist lost defamation lawsuits over his comments that the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre was a hoax. Jones filed for Chapter 11 protection in Texas and told his listeners Monday he was, quote, totally maxed out, end quote, financially. He urged his audience to contribute money or buy products off his Infowars website. Now, in business and in law, there are pros and cons for filing for bankruptcy protection. One of the pros is that it suspends civil proceedings. One of the cons is that it opens you up to accusations of fraud. It opens you up to accusations that you have pilfered or otherwise improperly taken the assets from these companies, specifically to render them judgment-proof, which puts you on the hook personally, and lo and behold, that is exactly what's happening to Alex Jones now. Attorneys for Sandy Hook families have accused Jones of trying to hide millions of dollars in assets as juries later this year are set to determine how much he should pay in damages. And it's not just that attorneys have accused Alex Jones of this. From what I understand, they have actually filed proceedings alleging as much. We'll get to that in a second, but first, the assets to liabilities of these companies. What does Alex Jones claim? Infowars told the bankruptcy court it had estimated assets of $50,000 or less and estimated liabilities of $1 million to $10 million. Creditors listed in the filing include relatives of some of the 20 children and 6 educators killed in the 2012 school massacre in Connecticut. Under Canadian law, and I presume it's roughly the same under American law, when you file for bankruptcy protection, you have to provide a list of your creditors, a list of the people to whom you owe money, and that could include litigious creditors, people that you might owe money to in the future based on pending litigation, but the amount has yet to be determined, and therefore that includes the list of the plaintiffs that have filed suit against Alex Jones for defamation. Because Alex Jones has been ordered by the court to pay damages to these plaintiffs, it has just yet to establish the amount, which it's going to establish later this year. So now Infowars, Prison Planet TV, and IW Health have filed for bankruptcy protection, which suspends the civil proceedings, but only temporarily. In theory, the plaintiffs could petition the court asking for a suspension of the stay of proceedings, and that would basically be ordering the court to allow the court proceedings to continue, notwithstanding the application for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Alternatively, if I'm not mistaken, the plaintiffs can also drop those defendants under bankruptcy protection from the lawsuit so that they can continue the proceedings against the remaining solvent individuals. But like I said before, this opens the door wide open for Alex Jones being accused of hiding money from those companies, pilfering money from those companies so as to render them judgment-proof.
And that is exactly what's happening.
From ABC News, Alex Jones accused of hiding assets over Sandy Hook lawsuits. Infowars host Alex Jones is is facing a new lawsuit in Texas. Austin, Texas. Alex Jones is facing a new lawsuit in Texas over accusations that the Infowars host hid millions of dollars in assets after families of Sandy Hook victims began taking him to court. According to the lawsuit, Jones is accused of drawing about $18 million from his Infowars company over 3 years, starting in 2018 when the defamation lawsuits were filed. Jones is also accused of claiming a, quote, dubious, end quote, $54 million debt around that time to another company, which the lawsuit alleges is indirectly or directly owned by Jones. Norm Pattis, an attorney for Jones, said there was no effort to hide assets. Quote, the suggestion is ridiculous. We look forward to litigating these issues, end quote, Pattis said in an email Friday. Terminology may vary by jurisdiction, and like I said, nothing in this vlog constitutes legal advice, but in bankruptcy law, there are certain transactions when, if done within certain time frames of the alleged insolvency, can themselves be deemed to be reviewable transactions. For example, if the individual pays themselves substantial sums of money while the company is insolvent, or pays themselves substantial sums of money, thereby rendering the company insolvent, other creditors can come back and say, whoa, you paid yourself knowing your company was insolvent. Instead of paying us, I want you to put that money back in the pot
so that we can take it.
These could be called reviewable transactions, they could be called preferential payments, they could be called outright fraud, but the idea is that if the individual knowing of the insolvency of the company prefers one creditor to another, well, that creditor who got screwed gets to complain about it. If the company suddenly starts making suspiciously large payments not otherwise in the ordinary course of business, if it starts declaring dividends to shareholders knowing that it's insolvent, if it starts making excessive payments to directors or not arm's length transactions, other creditors can come back and say these were preferential payments, these were fraudulent payments, these are reviewable transactions, put the money back so that we can have our go at it. And based on the reporting, because I have not yet read the proceedings, that is exactly what the attorneys for the Sandy Hook victims are alleging. They are saying Alex Jones took out tens of millions of dollars from these companies, declared a $54 million debt that no one ever heard of, and we think these are fraudulent transactions, and we are going to go after Alex Jones personally for them. As an attorney, I was involved in very, very lengthy bankruptcy proceedings involving an unpaid attorney, and hell hath no fury like an attorney unpaid, and my goodness, people don't appreciate what a creditor can do in bankruptcy. They can go after every single payment, every salary, every dividend that was paid out to a shareholder, a director, or not arm's length transactions, and they can ask the court to review those, and they can ask people to put the money back into the pot. It's a very, very invasive process, the bankruptcy proceedings. As far as I am concerned, above and beyond the very temporary and very superficial benefit of the stay of civil proceedings against the allegedly insolvent companies, I don't know what other benefit this procures, but it opens the door wide open for Alex Jones to face further litigation, and that is exactly what's happening right now. But alas, it's easy to play driver's seat attorney. Alex Jones has counsel, and they are presumably competent counsel who have strategized accordingly, but I don't like this move. If I were Alex Jones's attorneys, I would not have recommended this move, and we will see how it plays out. So that is the latest in the Alex Jones judicial saga. This latest move certainly gives the media the headline they want. Infowars files for bankruptcy protection. In a way, I guess it might be giving the plaintiffs what they want, in that it exposes Alex Jones to further litigation in bankruptcy courts. We'll be following this to see where it goes, and I'll be providing updates as they occur. But if you like my content and you like my videos, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
If you want to support the channel, all of the merch links are in the pinned comment, and we have got big news coming on the merch front. If you want to support Robert Barnes and I on Locals, you can find us at
vivabarneslaw.locals.com.
All of my content is also on Rumble, which has a nifty little widget that will bring you directly to our Locals community if you are so inclined. But more important than anything, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone you know, he did the butt thing again, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!